My name is Philippe Cunningham, and I'm the Minneapolis City Council member representing the 4th Ward in North Minneapolis.
I did not know that said defund police on the front of the stage until I saw the picture in the New York Times. I didn't know that that was on the front of the stage. I got, and now people are saying that I talked about defunding the police. I literally never said that.
And across the entire city, over the past 2 weeks, we have seen that it is possible for us to keep our own community safe. In North Minneapolis, as the buildings were being broken and burned by white supremacists and extremists, MPD was nowhere to be found.
We were doing the best that we can with what we had.
How about that? Video, isn't it a wonderful thing? Joining me now, Sheriff Rich Stanek. He's the former Hennepin County Sheriff of Minnesota. Sheriff, I don't think you're sitting back cheering what's happening right now in Minnesota. I think it's horrible, especially because I used to visit Minneapolis all the time when I was a kid, and I wouldn't even visit it now if you paid me. It's not going well, though, this whole defund the police. Are the cops not the ones that were the problem?
Abolish and defund. You saw the letters. They were 3 feet high on the stage in front of all those Minneapolis City Council members saying, abolish and defund our local police department, and that is what they're absolutely trying to do. Murders here are skyrocketing. FBI says murder rates are up 30% nationwide. We wish they were only 30% here in Minneapolis. We've had 503 people shot already this year. It is unbelievable what's happening. The city council wants to take control of the police department. They have no plan moving forward if they're successful with this ballot initiative. And, what do you tell the residents of the city, much less the police are putting their lives on the line every single day?
Sheriff, I have to assume that those cops who want to go out there and do good and protect, and I have to assume they're leaving. I have to be honest. If I committed myself to protecting others and I got dumped on like that, I'd go to the suburbs of Florida and I'd be pulling over little old ladies for swerving too much. I wouldn't sit for that crap.
Over 1/3 of the police department has already left their ranks in the last 18 months. Recruitment? Who wants to be a police officer? Who wants to work in the Minneapolis Police Department? I'm a proud member. 25 years I served in and 12 years as sheriff of that county. But, I got to say, you really can't blame them. They do not have any support at all from their elected officials.
Sheriff, we keep hearing violent crime is up, and it obviously is up. Murders are up, shootings are up. It's obviously really bad, as you just pointed out, in places like Minneapolis. Can you expand in detail a little bit more why? What happened that is now creating this situation where there's so much more violent crime? Give us details. Why?
Look, we had the tragic death of George Floyd. The officers are in trial, or one of them was already convicted. However, moving forward, the police want to be supported as well. They operate within the boundaries and the parameters that the citizens put upon them. But when their own elected officials turn on them and say, look, we no longer want the police, and this ballot initiative November 2nd coming up here in Minneapolis, which would abolish and defund the police, is just the beginning. If they're able to successfully do it here, they'll do it in other major U.S. cities across the country. Other places have reduced the funding for police. But you know what? 18 months later, they're coming back around. They're watching these crime rates skyrocket. I belong to a group called FightForOurHeroes.com. It provides education about what this abolish and defund movement means and what you can do to get involved.
Sheriff, the city council has plans to replace the police department with the Department of Public Safety. Would you please explain to me this grand plan? I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah, they would take the management and authority of the police department away from the mayor and the police chief. They'd create a Department of Public Safety that may or may not include police officers. It certainly will include social workers. They can do that now. Many progressive U.S. cities across the country include social workers when responding to mental health calls. The problem is they want the cops to do everything from A to Z. They want us to be the therapists. They want us to be the addiction counselors. They want us to be the mental health experts. They want us to be the marriage counselors. I mean, come on, they've got a job to do. It's tough enough. Our response times went from about 3 to 4 minutes to answer a 911 call when somebody needs help to over 15 minutes. It's unbelievable.
Sheriff, nothing bad can happen in the course of 15 minutes, though. That's not that long, right?
15 minutes, and you wonder why, like you said at the beginning of the show, hey, I won't even come back to Minnesota. Many residents are forced to take things in their own hands. You know, the other day, a rolling gun battle between 2 cars through downtown Minneapolis, the economic hub of Minnesota. Eventually, the 2 cars end up in a crash, and they kill another innocent woman on a moped, a scooter. The other day, residents of North Minneapolis said, hey, Governor, they wrote him a letter and said, please declare our neighborhood a war zone. Send in National Guard troops. Send us state troopers. All they got in response was crickets. They talk a good game, but they got to produce at the end of the game. And producing is what we need right now. Residents of Minneapolis and the Minneapolis police need to be supported and be safe.
Sheriff, I have to ask, because you brought up the economic hub. I understand that we're talking about lives and things like that here, but I can't imagine the businesses headquartered in Minneapolis are going to stick around for this. You got to be able to have clients in town and go out for a steak without getting shot.
Well, literally, you can walk down, as I did, downtown Minneapolis a couple evenings ago. You can fire a shot down the street at 8th and Hennepin, 8th and Nicollet, which is in the middle of downtown Minneapolis, and not hit a single soul. Unfortunately, there is nobody down there. They're down to 1/3 of the people who normally would come downtown to live, work, play, recreate. They're not going. Our professional sports teams, sure, they're still anchored on both ends of the city in downtown, but in between, there isn't anybody around, and nobody's coming back anytime soon. Businesses are leaving in droves.
Sheriff, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Stay safe.